What's up, duck hunters? So let's all talk about a 60-day notice and what it means to us as apartment locators. Alright guys, so first let's understand sort of the life cycle of somebody moving out of their apartment, right? So before you move out of your apartment, you are required typically to put in a 60-day or 2-month notice to the apartment community and to let them know that you're moving out. So that way they can prepare to lease your unit for 60 days for your move out date, right? So you're basically giving them time to get your unit leased because now they're expecting you to move out in 60 days. Now some apartments require a 30-day notice, but that's pretty rare. And I've seen some apartments require 90-day notices, but again, that's very, very rare. 95% of all apartments, most of them require a 60-day notice. So this is very, very important to understand as an apartment locator if you're going about your business, because we can only basically help clients that need to move into an apartment within 60 days in the future, right? So let me try to explain this to you a little bit better. Okay guys, so when you get an advertisement call or a web lead, it's very important for you guys to ask them when they need to move in and if it's within 60 days, right? Because if they need to move in over 60 days, and they're telling you they're just trying to get an idea of what the market looks like, when that happens, I tell my leads that I can only be a great resource to them if they need to move in within 60 days into the future, right? And the reason I don't work with clients that need to move in over 60 days, like past the notice, if they're just trying to get a feel for the market, is because you can't really realistically get a good feel for what the pricing should be because the apartments themselves don't know what the price is going to be. Okay, so here's an example. If there's a tenant and they're moving out March 1st, right, they're required to give a notice January 1st because that's 60 days before, right? So guys, the apartments, they only know their availability when someone puts in a 60-day notice. So if you're calling an apartment complex and you're trying to understand what the exact pricing is going to be 90 days or 61 days or more into the future, they don't actually know because they haven't received notices for that far in the future, right? So the people that are living in their apartments, they're not sure if they're going to even put in a notice and leave or if they're going to renew their lease. So there's no way an apartment can actually tell you a unit number and a price for that unit number more than 60 days in the future if they require a 60-day notice, because they're not sure if that tenant is actually going to move out or not. They still have the option to renew. So this is very important because you can't really give them accurate, exact information for them to lock a unit down if the apartment themselves don't know their availability. So what I would recommend you do is if you get any ad calls or leads or web leads that are telling you that they need that they're just kind of looking around and that they need to move in like 3 months, then I would tell them to just call you back within 60 days of when they need to move in, so that way you can give them accurate information because the apartments actually know their availability. So just explain that very simply to your clients, right? It's not a negative thing and it's not rude. If someone, you ask them, when are you trying to move in? Okay, you're trying to move in over 60 days. Well, give us a call when you need to move in within 60 days because the apartments actually don't know their availability because they're on a 60-day notice. So they don't know if their tenants are going to put in a notice to vacate or renew if you're looking to move in past 60 days. So there's no way we can tell you the real availability and the real exact prices. So I can't be a resource for you unless you're trying to move in within 60 days. You just explain that to your clients and you move on. So this is kind of interesting because it sort of tells you how quick apartment locators get paid on their commission, right? As an apartment locator, you will get paid anywhere from 1 week to about 8 weeks from the time your client moves in. I know that's kind of like a big spectrum range, right? But in my experience, working with newer buildings, Class A properties, they seem to pay fast in my 6 years of experience. That's why I like leasing Class A buildings. They're also very beautiful. So if I'm ever touring, it's nice to be surrounded by beautiful property, right? So there's a psychological reason I like to work with Class B or Class A properties. But all properties are great, right? Even Class C as well. Your clients need to move in immediately. I see that more often than not, than people looking and being proactive and leasing for 30 days or 60 days in the future. Now you will get some proactive clients, but generally speaking, I don't know if it's a pattern here in at least, Texas or Colorado where I work the most in, but I get a lot of immediate move-ins. I think it's because people don't take apartment leasing as seriously as purchasing a home as far as being proactive. So you'll see more ASAP move-ins than someone, taking the initiative and booking 60 days out. I don't know what the deal is with that, but it's just what I've been seeing in my tests. So it's kind of interesting because that if you help someone move in ASAP within a week, you have to wait till they move in. So let's say like 1 week or tomorrow, and that that a building is going to cut you the check anywhere from 1 week to 8 weeks after they move in, right? Just sort of depends on when they want to pay you. Some buildings don't like to have big accounts payables on their books, so they just kind of pay out commission. I've seen like within 1 week or 2 weeks. They just don't like to collect, be in debt like that. But some other properties like to take their time because they stay liquid, right? And they want to make sure that the tenant pays the first month or the second month before they cut you your check. So it just depends on the business practices of that building. But typically speaking, it's 1 week to 8 weeks is what you can expect as normal. So that the quickest that you'll ever receive a check in as apartment locator is if you lease somebody for the next day. So that's 1 day, and then, a week after they move in. So that like 8 days is like the fastest you're going to receive a check as an apartment locator. And that does happen a lot. It happens to me plenty of times. Now, the longest that you can receive a check is if, let's say someone's unbelievably proactive and you lease them exactly 60 days in the future, which, like I said, typically just doesn't happen. People usually move in within the month or 1 month away, or ASAP, like within a week is what I see a lot realistically. But if someone is unbelievably proactive, they lease 60 days in the future, and then let's say that property is trying to stay really, really liquid for as long as possible, and they take 8 weeks to pay you on that check. So the longest that it's going to take you to receive a check as an apartment locator is 60 days for them to move in, and then 8 weeks, which is 2 months, right? So another 60 days. So that 120 days or 4 months would technically be like the longest you're going to ever wait for a single commission. Now guys, this doesn't really matter that much because with apartment locating, it's not like normal real estate, like if we were realtors and we're selling like 1 home a month or 2 homes a month, right? We actually lease several clients a month. So, anywhere from 8 to 12 is like what average apartment locators lease. Right? I've leased like 30 people in 1 month before, residential clients. But on average, apartment locators lease like anywhere from 8 to 12 people, which translates into over $10,000 a month part-time. That's why I'm really excited about this industry. But the point is that you sort of know that the quickest you're going to get paid is 8 days, and the longest you're going to ever technically get paid is 120 days, right? But when you have several clients, building up, if you're leasing 15 clients this month, 15 clients the next month, 15 clients the next month, by the time you get to that 4-month period that collecting the commission check from months ago, it doesn't really matter because you're receiving all these other commission checks from more quicker move-in people that you're not going to notice the difference. And then finally on the 4th month, when they cut you the check, if that's like the longest you've waited, technically speaking, you're just going to collect it on month 4, right? And so then it'll be like a nice surprise for you, right? So with apartment locating, there's tons of commission checks that get paid. So even if you get paid within 1 week or within like 16 weeks, in the worst case scenario, it doesn't really matter because you're stacking up your leases and you're becoming very, very profitable over time, right? So for instance, like if you made 15 grand this month, but one of $1,000 out of the 15 is taking you a couple more months to collect, doesn't really matter because then you've made 14 grand that month, and then on month 4, the 15 grand you'll make on the 4th month in the future, you'll get an extra $1,000. So things level out always with apartment locating, but it's very, very realistic to make over $10,000 net working part-time. So I just wanted to go over the 60-day notice because that is like the industry standard notice policy that tenants have to give to apartments before they move out, right? So my advice would be I wouldn't work and focus on time helping someone if they need to move in past 60 days because there's no way the apartments can know their availability or whether or not their tenants are going to put in a notice or renew, right? We're not magicians. So, you're not going to really be a giant resource. Sometimes if like you're bored or you just want to help them anyways, sometimes you can send them a quick list, of similar apartments that meet their criteria. And then you can explain to your clients, hey, these prices are around what you can expect, more or less. They may fluctuate because we don't really know the availability. So even though they can't lock anything down past 60 days because they're on a 60-day notice, even though they can't lock something exactly down, they can still get a feel for the pricing. So if you want to send someone a list over and then have them contact you once they're within the 60-day move-in window, you can do that as well, right? It takes like 1 minute to just send out a quick list. But personally, I just like to help people that are already within the 60-day move-in window, so I can be a better resource to my clients and then make more money in a much more efficient way. So I hope you duck hunters like that explanation, and let's move on to the next. Chaboom!